Alright guys, this is Alphonse Brungaru and this is for my class ISA 4220 and I'll be talking to you about database and EMET 5.0. Um, MySQL is the most popular open source SQL database that is provided by the MySQL AB. MySQL AB is a commercial company that builds its business by providing services around the MySQL database. It is a database management system, a database that is structured for the collection of data. It may be anything from a simple shopping list to a picture gallery or even huge, vast amounts of corporate networked data. It's what we consider as the language used by the MySQL is the language that is used to work with modern relational databases. A relational database stores data in separate tables, than putting all the data in one big storeroom. What this does, this adds flexibility, speed. The tables are linked by defined relations, making it possible to combine data from several tables on request. And the SQL part of the MySQL stands for Structured Query Language, which is the most common standardized language to use to access databases. An SQL statement is made up of subjects, verbs, and predicates. It's like an the English language. The select from state, where state ID usually is 32, which means show me all the data from the state table where the state code in the table is 32. MySQL is it's what we consider as an open source software. It is possible for anyone to use and modify as they want. Anyone can download this software. MySQL is compatible with your standard SQL language. MySQL is also frequently used by the PHP and Perl languages. And there's a commercial version of it which is available with full technical support backing it. It's also written in C and C++. It provides a server that separate program too. SQL functions are implemented through a very highly optimized class library and should be as fast as possible. There are no memory leaks. MySQL has been tested with Purify, which is a commercial memory leakage detector. There's also full support for different character sets, including the Big Five, UGIS, even Scandinavian characters. MySQL specific show command can be used to retrieve information about databases, tables, indexes, and the explain command can be used to determine how the optimizer resolves a query. All MySQL programs can be invoked with the help or options to obtain any online assistance. All data is saved in the chosen character set. All comparisons for normal string columns are case insensitive. Using the new automake, autoconfig, and lib2 for portability. It handles large database values, up to 50 million records, and we know of users using MySQL with 60,000 tables and up to 5 billion rows. MySQL also has a fixed length and variable length records. In memory, hash tables, which are used, they can be used as temporary tables too. Some of the features that are on the MySQL, one of the features we have is the triggers. Triggers are SQL commands that are automatically executed by the server in certain database operations, such as insert, update, and delete. MySQL has supported triggers in a limited formal version 5.0 and additional functionality, which is in the new version 5.1. Also, for the user interface, there are a number of convenient user interfaces for administering a MySQL server. We also have a full text search, which simplifies and accelerates the search for the words that are located within the text field. If you employ a MySQL for storing text, such as an internet discussion group, you can use full text search to implement simply an efficient search function. Um, For the Unicode, MySQL has supported all conceivable character sets since version 4.1, including Latin 1, Latin 2, and Unicode either in the variant of the UTF-8 or the UCS2. Um, some other features is such as replication. Replication allows the contents of the database to be copied onto a number of computers. In practice, this is done for two reasons: to increase protection against system failure, so that if one computer goes down, another one can be put into service, and to improve the speed of database queries. Another feature is the transactions. In the context of a database system, a transaction is the execution of several databases operations as a block. The database system ensures that either all of the operations are correctly executed or none of them. This holds even in the middle of a transaction. If there's to be a power failure, the computer crashes, some of the other disaster occurs. Thus, for example, it cannot occur that a sum of money withdrawn from account A but fails to be deposited in account B due to some type of error. This also gives the programmers the possibility of interrupting a series of executed commands into revoking them. MySQL has supported transactions for a long time. One should not you should note that MySQL can store tables in a variety of formats. The default table format is called the MyISAM, and this format does not support transactions, but there are a number of additional formats that do support transactions. And the most popular of this is the INODB, which supports these transactions. For the platform independence, it is not only client applications that run under a variety of operating systems. MySQL itself, the server, can be executed under a number of operating systems. The most important are Apple, the OS X, Macintosh, the Microsoft Windows, and countless of Unix variants such as BSDI, FreeBSD, HPUX, OpenBSD, NetBSD, Iris, and Solaris. EMET 5.0, why? EMET 5.0 Enhanced Mitigation Experience Toolkit. This product, it helps prevent any vulnerabilities in the software from being successfully exploited. EMET achieves this goal by using security mitigation technologies. These technologies and functions as special protections and obstacles that an exploit defeat to exploit the software vulnerabilities. These security mitigation technologies do not guarantee that vulnerabilities cannot be exploited. However, they work to make exploitation as difficult as possible to perform. EMET EMET also provides a configurable SSL TLS certificate pinning feature that is called the certificate trust. This feature is intended to detect and stop with the EMET 5.0 man in the middle of attacks that are leveraging the public key infrastructure, the PKI. Some of the restrictions to the software: EMET can work together within a software regardless of when it was written or whom it was written for. This includes software that is developed by Microsoft and software that is developed by other vendors. However, you should be aware that some software may not be compatible with EMET. Some of the new features that are in the EMET 5.0 include the attack surface reduction, which is a generic plugin that works primarily with the Internet Explorer, as well as some with Office programs such as Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. one of the attack the ASR is currently a simple pretty much yes or no type of operation where if a certain plugin is to be detected in a protection application, ASR will not allow the specific plugin to load in the protected application. There are two slight variations to the ASR. For the Office suite of applications that are protected, it is a simple yes or no operation whether the plugin is allowed in the application. For example, let's say that you have a Word document that's open and it contains a Flash plugin of EMET. It will not allow the plugin to load. On the other hand, as ASR on the Internet Explorer has a variation which by default it will block plugins such as Java on the Internet, Security Zone, which however it will allow the plugin on the Internet and trusted sites of Security Zone. The other new feature is the export address table filtering plus. It amplifies its scope and robustness in the sense that what it does, it will perform integrity checks on stack registers and stack limits when export tables and are read from certain lower level modules. It will prevent operations in the P headers sections, import all export and export table pointers of selected modules when they originate from suspicious code that may reveal memory corruption bugs used as read primitives for memory modules. What this will do, they will help detect and disrupt current techniques which are being used to dynamically discover their return-oriented programming gadgets reliable to execute code when a vulnerability is exploited. Some of the best practices for the MySQL are you optimize your query search, optimizing query cache. Most MySQL servers have query caching enabled. It is one of the most effective methods of improving performance. When the same query executed multiple times, the result is fetched from the cache just quite fast. The problem is it is too easy and hidden from the programmer. Most of us would tend to ignore it. Second thing you can do, you can explain your select queries. Use the explain keyword, which gives you an insight on what the MySQL is doing to execute your query. This will help you spot the bottlenecks and other problems with your query table structures. Another thing you can do, you can use enum over the voucher, or enum types columns in a very fast and compact manner. Internally, they are stored like the tiny int, yet they can contain the display of string values. This makes them perfect candidates for certain fields. You can also get suggestions from procedure analysis, which will let you analyze the columns structures and the actual data in your table to come up with certain suggestions for you. It's only useful if there is actual data in your tables, because that plays a big role in the decision making. Some other things you can do, you can use not null if you can, unless you have a very specific reason to use a null value. You should always set your columns as not null. You can also almost always have an id field. In every table, have an id field column that is primarily key, auto increment, and none of the flavors of int. int, also preferably unsigned, since the value cannot be negative. Even if you have users table that has a unique username field, do not make that your primarily key. Virtual fields as primarily keys are slower, and you have better structure in your code by referring to all users with their aids in. Some of the best practices for the 5.0 EMET 5.0 is you should use the recommended settings, and you should always configure your websites to use to be covered by certificates. You can add websites or remove them. Once you configure them, they will be listed in the protected websites, which will include the PIN rule, which means sites will only be trusted if they are digitally signed by the certificate authority. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.